Welcome to Carnivore Theology, a podcast that answers questions about the Christian faith to help you grow from milk to meat into wise, skilled, world-changing followers of Jesus Christ. With theologian and pastor Chad Graham, author and pastor Al Dejanot, and me, your host, Steve Bastian. Today's question is, what are some of our favorite podcasts or blogs? How do they inspire and teach us? What do we approve of? And what do we think of others? Anyways.
It's good that we changed that in post-production. It's all good, Steve.
Steve, I always think when you're saying that, you're going to say, and me, Mr. Dressup.
And me, Mr. Dressup.
You should try that one week.
So, maybe I will. Anyways, we'll get into the part. This will be the edited out section.
Sorry, yes, there you go. Done.
If you're watching the video, I apologize for my stumbling and trying to read off of my other monitor. I should have moved it in front of my face. I find that a distraction, actually, reading from my second monitor. So, hey guys, we're sitting here, we're discussing what we listen to and some of the things we're reading, and we thought we should start recording a podcast. What do you guys think of the weather out here in the Whitehorse?
I think it makes me happy I live in Ottawa.
It's better than Calgary, so I'm okay with it.
Calgary gets made fun of. It's funny, because I like to live in Edmonton. I used to live in Edmonton.
Alberta, the land of extremes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay, though. The weekend's going to hit the 20s again, so.
This place is great, though. I mean, we're here at the Burnt Toast Cafe in Whitehorse, and it is beautiful in here. This is a really good place, and the food is awesome.
As you can see, I'm enjoying the humble salad, which I believe they actually named after me.
There's a picture of you right next to it. Most humbly got a star. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I sent that photo in, actually.
I made the suggestion. Could you name the salad after me?
I'm a little jealous, though. Chad, your toast is more burnt than mine. Obviously,
he's the brand.
Named after him, yeah.
You get your own salad, Steve. You can have your toast as burnt as they can make it.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
I'm having the Becky, which was bacon, arugula, Gruyere, and truffle. It's a bunch of words I don't recognize with drizzled tomatoes. I didn't know you could drizzle a tomato. And focaccia, I think it's a lot of C's in that word. I'm focusing on the pulled pork poutine, though.
But I recognize the word bacon. And
yeah, that's why I got it. I didn't get much past the bacon, and then I just got it. It's not bad. It's just there's a lot of things on there that aren't bacon.
Well, I went with the Big Dog breakfast. Anything that's Big Dog spelled with a D-A-W-G, it's gotta be
D-A-W-G makes it twice as gooder.
Twice as gooder, yes. Yeah. So, guys, we were talking about some of the stuff that we listen to and read, and I thought it'd be worthwhile for us to discuss that and record that and see where it goes.
Well, and you know what? The reason that we pushed record on this is because we started to realize how important it is that we start telling people this, that it's important that they get into this deeper stuff. We all agree that every believer needs to be part of a good church. They need to go and sing the worship songs. They need to be around other believers. They got to find a good gospel preaching pastor, and they got to serve on Sundays. We all agree with that. But the problem is, for so many, it just kind of ends there, right? And an immature believer, and that's okay if you're an immature believer, if you're young in the faith, they need to commit to that. They got to commit to going and serving on Sundays at the very least. But as a person matures, and we've known this, and each one of us has known this, as we've matured, you get that thirst, you get that desire for more, to not just read your Bible daily and not just to pray daily, but to grow in our spiritual gifts and grow in our knowledge and serve in deeper ways. And the danger is getting stuck. Right? Being stuck where you think that learning about Jesus happens only on Sunday morning, that the only source of your material is your pastor's sermon, that the coffee at small group, really, that's what fellowship is. And you get in trouble. And I think in this podcast, the mission of the podcast is to push people to lifelong learning and to learn more about Jesus, his church, and the world, because we believe, and Chad, I think you'd agree with this, that you're so much more valuable to your family, your friends, your church, your world, if you're a self-motivated, follower of Christ who's pursuing good teaching on their own. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you have a salad named after you, that's key.
Absolutely. Or the pinnacle would be a bacon dish of some sort named after you. But you're right, Chad. You're right, Al. Especially with we as men of families need to be the leaders of our household. I know that not every family has that situation, but when you look at what the Bible lays out as the ideal scenario, that young men especially struggle in the area of leading their families.
Well, it's not even that hard. We're surrounded. I mean, we have just such an embarrassment of unbelievable access to such good Christian resources out there, and yet so many of our people in our churches don't even access them. They don't know about them. They don't care about them. They're stuck on other trite nonsense. I mean, we're called this podcast Carnivore Theology because of the idea of moving from milk to meat. We want our people, we want to be people who are eating meat and not stuck on cotton candy or milk. And it's just such an embarrassment of good stuff out there that we can really grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to be lactate consultants. We want to be chefs. Yes. I don't know. I'm having a funny day, Al. Just go with me here.
Working on it. I'm trying to banter with you, but you're throwing out garbage. Give me something better, Chad.
What do you mean I'm not? You know what lactation consultants do? They help babies to nurse. And I was playing right off of you into your hands there.
You said Lactaid, which I assume meant something to do with lactose intolerance, and I was completely confused.
Yeah, I actually confused the two. I happen to be a milk bigot, and so that it threw me there. So Steve.
Okay.
Steve.
You must. What do you read, Steve? I'd like to hear from you.
Well, reading isn't something I do a lot of because so much of my job involves reading. I find podcasts and audiobooks the way I tend to go, mostly because I get several hours a week driving to visit the families that I work with, and it motivates me. One thing that I noticed that we first started chatting about this, I think we all listen to one podcast together, and we don't listen to it together, We listen to it separately, and then a lot of times it drives some of our themes, and that's Albert Mohler's The Briefing.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it's an amazing podcast that looks at the world from a biblical perspective. You're putting the Bible as the glasses, the filter, and looking at the world. And even though it's an extremely American base, and sometimes I've been surprised that he mentions Canada in passing as just a foreign entity, but I guess to him way down there in I believe it's Kentucky. Chad, you know this better than I do. Canada is pretty foreign, but
yeah.
Well, there's no better podcast in the world, as far as I can tell, at least on the internet, for anybody who wants to expand their understanding and learn how to think critically and biblically about what's happening in the world than Albert Mohler's The Briefing. I think it's must listen for Christians. I would put it in the you should listen to it every day.
And of course, you guys probably know that I'm actually studying at Southern right now. In fact, I'm wearing my Southern sweater at this particular moment.
Oh, good for you. Well
and
that's what I mentioned. You should know that it's from Kentucky, but Al Mohler, Dr. Mohler, who does that podcast, there's a couple of amazing things about it that most people.
Did you just call him Al?
Oh, yes.
Big Al.
Are you on a first name?
My very close friend, Big Al.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
He walks with me and he talks with me.
He tells me I am his own.
As I have my earbuds in my ear listening to The Briefing, and I walk across campus. But a couple of things that people don't know about that podcast. He travels all over the world. He runs that off of his his Apple iBook or whatever they call them, MacBook, and he does them all completely non-scripted. He reads a whole series. I believe I'm told about several dozen major newspapers every morning, including like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the London Times and the big ones. And he pounds through the papers and he just thinks about them. and then he flips his computer open and talks.
Which blows my mind. Because he doesn't sound like that. He sounds like he's reading a well-researched, well-documented paper that he has just crafted for the last 4 hours.
I was sure that he was using, his lackeys such as like Chad Graham, working on their PhDs to research for him, because
he does have a team.
Incredible.
He does have a team of people that send him articles. I know that because I actually emailed him and I said, okay, how do you do this? Because it's crazy what you do. And he's like, well, I have a team of people. They send me some articles. I go through a lot of this stuff, but then I don't script it. One lady actually asked him, how long does it take you to write the briefing? Like, I don't write the briefing. I just talk. Right? Yeah. It blows my mind. Amazing. And again, super helpful.
But of course, he's a unique individual. Charles Spurgeon used to read all week, and then on Saturday night he would write out like a 3 or 4 point outline with just his highlight points, and then he'd go in the pulpit Sunday morning, preach his sermons. Everybody thought they were scripted as well.
Which is why he had the shorthand person sitting in the front row, scribbling like crazy, so he could go and get that printed out and edited up later.
Yeah, several of them, in fact, and then they kind of merged them together. So those guys are geniuses, and of course they're valuable. What's another one we all listen to, Steve? A little quiz for you. Make sure you're listening to it still.
Okay. Well, I know another one that we've been inspired by.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Mortification of Spin.
Absolutely. Our progenitor, our mother, the mother of our podcast.
Well, they don't know we exist. But.
I did not tell them that we're stealing half their ideas. No, that would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, we might just lose our three moms to this, podcast.
Actually, let's not mention that one. There's no such thing as mortification of spin. It's not extremely helpful. It doesn't feature some really insightful people, and
who are not way funnier than us.
Who are not way funnier than us. This is not the podcast you're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, guys. Outside of the two that I know that we talk about often, Chad, what is one of your favorite podcasts or blog that you are inspired by, you learn from?
You know what's funny, and we kind of talked about it. I actually listen to very few podcasts and follow very few blogs. I used to do it more, but I actually tend now, which will sound a little funny on this topic because I do approve in general, but I actually try to dissuade people from really following a lot of blogs because so many of them are unreliable in their facts and questionable in their doctrine. I think it's Proverbs 10:19 says, when words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent.
Yeah.
That might be the epitome of the blogosphere. So when I think of blogs, to me, I think of going to places of people or ministries that I know really well and that I trust, and I don't like to recommend stuff all over the place or just have people, it's amazing how many emails I get. I read such and such in a blog. What do you think of this? And it's all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm very limited. But I would say one of the things that I regularly follow and that I regularly recommend is Chellies.com.
Yeah.
Tim Chellies is a Canadian. He's out in Toronto. He's pastoring now. He's a computer science guy as well. And what he really does, I think, he kind of gives us a gateway into anything really worth seeing in the Christian web, and sometimes beyond. That's really effective. And so I would recommend him, and I regularly see him. Beyond that, I pretty much read my friends' blogs because I like to see what they're doing, and a few select other ones that people generally might not be as interested in as I am.
Well, let me talk about Tim Chellies because anybody listening, absolutely, this is my number two. I mean, number one is Al Mohler, The Briefing. Number two is Tim Chellies because he's been blogging for as long as blogs have been around. And what I like about him best is that he covers a ton of topics. He's got links and content. He's blogged every day for the past, super long time. And he covers books and movies and the news. He'll make commentary. He'll write devotions. He does current events. He does pop culture. He talks about theology. He'll talk about ethics. And then every day he puts together something he calls a la carte, where he throws out these interesting links and these interesting articles and Christian wallpapers and just other interesting things in the Christian realm. Yes. And so there's one blog, if you literally, like you said, there's one blog you're going to be signed up to understand what's going on in the Christian world. It's the Tim Chellies blog, without question.
Yeah, I agree. And then, my wife reads some blogs, and there's some. I've actually looked into a few women's blogs just to sort of get a sense of them and what's out there. And I know my sister actually writes foretasteofheaven.blogspot.ca, Crystal Humphrey. She's also featured on truewomen.com and the Council for Biblical Manhood and Womanhood blog. Mm-hmm. Her stuff's really helpful, and she's been putting out quite a lot of it lately, so I recommend that. Mm-hmm. And Housewife Theologian by Amy Bird, if the ladies are looking for stuff. Those two are really good and really regularly updated.
Which ties right back to we're not talking about Mortification of Spin, because she's the lady on Mortification of Spin.
Right, and of course, no, so never mind. Scratch that. Don't even look at housewifetheologian.com because you might find that other podcast, which is really no good.
Yeah, no good. And we don't listen to it every time it comes out immediately as soon as it comes out.
Yes, I look forward to my Tuesday mornings. I mean, to listen to Albert Mohler only.
I don't have that subscribed on my iPhone either.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, what's one that we haven't talked about already that is on... You talked about your number 1, your number 2. What's your number 3?
I'll give it this way, and this might be a little bit of a cheat, but it is to get a Kindle and then subscribe to gospelebooks.net. If there's one thing that is better than a good book, it is a good book that I've gotten for free. So my final suggestion is to go buy a Kindle, I don't care what kind, go and subscribe to gospelebooks.com or .net, I think, and or sign up for their blog alert, because every day they will send you links to where you can get on Amazon free or very, very discounted Christian books. Like, there's some weird Christian fiction stuff, but there's a ton of good theological, special interest, personal, spiritual development books, even some study Bibles that you can get for like 99 cents. It's amazing. And they come by like almost every day. My Kindle has paid for itself a dozen times over just in the savings that I've gotten on good books from them.
But have you read them all?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. No, it's impossible. I mean, like, literally every day, I'm like, oh, I will totally read that, boop, and then I'll get it for free, and then it'll go sit there and it'll wait for me to come around to it. It's awesome.
Build your library, though. I mean, that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to give $20 to Amazon for a book, especially if I can get something that is as good by John Piper, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and list names, but they're all there, and they're all giving stuff up for free or 99 cents.
You know, there's something that I've been really struggling with, is trying to find good books in audio format, because, you know, I literally read a computer screen all day, and I print off reports and I highlight them. That's 90% of my job. I think in my time away from work, I don't want to be reading anymore. I'd rather, you know, turn my iPod or, you know, and sit back and listen. And I've been really struggling, you know, paying, was it $14 or $15 a month for Audible.com.
Oh, wow.
I look on there, there's like just about everything from C.S. Lewis is available. One of the books I've always wanted to read, and it just scares me when I see the size of it when I see it in the store, is The City of God. You know, it's bigger than the Bible. I think it is, actually, but
yeah, pretty
you know,
much.
You know, but do I want to be paying a monthly subscription fee? You know, that's where I struggle with that, and you guys might have some advice on that.
You know, I have an idea for you, Steve. I don't know that you do any transitioning back and forth, but Amazon has a setup now when you buy any ebook, you can get the accompanying Audible book very cheap. It's usually like $2 or something like that. So if you purchase the ebook, and you get it for free sometimes on sales or 99 cents, especially with Christian classics. For example, you can get J.I. Packer's Knowing God, which is a book I highly recommend. And you can usually find that on sale. You look for a good sale, get it for a few bucks, get the audio. And they sync so that you can listen to the audio in your car and then get home and hop in bed with your Kindle or your tablet or your phone and keep reading where you left off.
Yeah. Well, I keep my phone away from the bedroom because it's distracting. I want to sleep.
Well, it's just an idea, Steve. You don't have to follow my advice. All right. I try to help a guy out.
It's a great idea.
GospelEbooks.net, which is where I get all those Kindle books, also has a little link underneath them that to tell you whether or not there's an ebook deal on that one too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me throw out another podcast, 5 Minutes in Church History.
Oh, yeah.
With Stephen Nichols, who is
Yes.
it is 5 minutes, and he covers some awesome, fun topics. You'll learn a lot, and it takes no time at all. See, for me, it's the other thing. I got a 12-minute commute, and so I'm looking for stuff that I can do in the 12, 15 minutes it takes to get there and come back. So that, for me, I can do Muller's the briefing, and I can do 5 minutes of church history on the way home.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's the key of so many podcasts that they're either really long or they're really short.
Yep.
And,
which is ours?
ours is somewhere in the middle.
It depends. If Al's excited about the topic, it's really long.
It's really long.
If Al's okay with it, then it's it's medium.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, one of my friends said he really liked the length of 20-some minutes. He said he could listen to that while driving
Yeah.
in his normal day, and I was like, hey, that's great. So, hey, we welcome your feedback. If any of you want to go to our website, I'll give you the information at the end of this podcast. We want your feedback on that stuff. Absolutely, we're welcomed. We like to listen to what people have to say, and we're always wanting to improve.
Yep.
When if I think of just pushing people to sort of step up in the online resource world, there's a couple things I think are really, really helpful. There are e-journals from respectable institutions online that are made for lay people. They're really good. Stuff like the Themelios Journal that's edited by D.A. Carson and the Gospel Coalition publishes.
That's an excellent resource.
But another one that I want to just put out there for kind of anybody in something that I've personally benefited from is CKI, the Conversational Koine Institute. You can study Greek or Hebrew just like this, like we do on the Google Plus Hangouts while we're recording this. It's a live classroom with a teacher who's competent in the languages, and it's done as a spoken language. I've always found it was a struggle, in school to learn your Greek and to learn your paradigms and blah, 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 and to use them. And it was kind of mechanical for me. And then I spent a couple of years doing CKI Greek classes, and now I just enjoy reading my Greek text and my church fathers in Greek and so on. And I'm actually doing the Hebrew classes now.
That's awesome.
That's kind of a cool thing. It's cheap, it's fast, it's one night a week, no homework. Anybody could do it.
Let me piggyback on that and say iTunes University
Yes.
has a ton of really excellent theology classes from some of the best guys out there, as far as I'm concerned, best schools out there too, and they're free. Like, they're just free.
Yes.
You go get them, and you do a systematic theology 1 class, and you do systematic theology 2. You do Baptist history and thought, and you just do boom, 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 and just get it all done.
Yes.
Yeah. If you don't want the title at the end of the day, iTunes University is great for everything, including programming and things like that. There's my number 3 podcast is nothing to do with theology.
Perfect.
It's actually a flight test, RC flight planes and multi-rotors. But I'm into that hobby, but I really enjoy that many of the people in that group, they talk about they do that hobby as a ministry. They're doing it with their youth group at their church, or that's where they the 2 main guys in their YouTube video, which there's hundreds of thousands of subscribers to it. The one guy is a music pastor from a church down the road, and the other guy is one who is volunteering at the youth group, and they kind of met up and started doing some of these videos with a guy who's a professional production agency, and so that kind of gets me inspired. I may actually plan on doing a little bit of that with my school that I'm with. We're going to be doing a RC group with some teenage boys, and I'm hoping that it encourages into lifelong connections and possible careers where these kids can be who God made them to be.
So does RC stand for a Roman Catholic group, Steve? Is that what you're saying? You've gone to the Tiber?
I will say nothing.
All right. Well, as long as we're throwing out non-Christian ones, I'll throw out one called Good Job Brain, which I listen to all the time. It is all about just trivia. And so it's because I love amassing knowledge. I love sitting there listening to trivia. What I like about them best is that they just love to talk about how amazing the world is. They're always amazed by everything. And so they just talk about every topic under the sun, but they do it in such a passionate, funny, exciting way. I found it actually helps me to be in awe of creation. They're not a Christian ministry at all, but or Christian group at all. But I find I am more amazed at the world and how God built it because of all the things that I'm learning from them.
The truth in their podcast is giving you motivation and inspiring you. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Now I got to be careful, and this is where I throw in my caveat. I got to be careful because I will listen to Good Job Brain, and then I'll miss out on Albert Mohler, and I'll miss out on 5 Minutes in Church History because I like that one. It's more entertaining, and I got to be careful that I don't entertain myself too much, right?
Absolutely. Chad, do you have any fun one to talk about before we kind of wrap things up?
I don't know.
Chad doesn't have fun.
I don't have fun.
It's probably one that's looking at the pronouns in the Hebrew language or something. It's probably
That's exactly
fun.
that is his fun one.
I was going to not say, but I do listen to 2 linguistics podcasts, which are fun for me.
And that's because we know you well, Chad. We love you and accept you who you are.
Yes, despite your many limitations in your personality, we love you anyway, Chad. It's okay. We need people like you, Chad.
I feel the love.
Yeah, I need people like you because I just have such a hard time caring about that. So we need people that can care about that, right, Steve?
Hey, Chad talks to me about that stuff, and I make the same face that I'm looking when the Edmonton Eskimos actually score a touchdown. And it's like, I don't.
Incredulous?
Yeah. By the way, Stamps 3-0 against the Eskimos this season.
Oh yeah, and every other season, aren't we 21-0 or something right now?
I don't know. It's been like 5 years since
Yeah.
Edmonton's beat Calgary in a regular season game.
Yeah, I would say it's not even a rivalry anymore. It's a practice squad.
And
How do you feel about that, Al?
I'm totally fine with that. I have my teams that I support.
through the good and the exceptionally long periods of bad.
And because if you're listening to the podcast, I don't have to actually say them. You can't tell which ones I support. So
No,
I support
totally. Al, I totally understand your loyalty to the Edmonton Oilers and the Edmonton Eskimos organization.
Dude,
Which no one will now know about your secret hidden shame.
we're rebuilding. We're rebuilding. What part of we're rebuilding don't you understand? We've been doing it for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally get it. I mean, 1992 till today is really not a long time for rebuilding.
It's Rome wasn't built in a day. It may have been built quicker than the Edmonton Oilers are taking, but it wasn't built in a day.
Al, I met you 18 years ago, the first day of Bible college, and you were talking about rebuilding back then. So
Yes. We're what part don't you understand? We're rebuilding.
Anyways, guys, that was a lot of fun to talk about those podcasts. We should make sure that we put the links for all these different things in the description.
Absolutely.
Well, we're working on getting that so that if you're listening to this podcast and you want to go and find these resources, look in the description of the podcast, and we will for this episode, and we will have those there. So you just click away and gain more tools, and hopefully that'll help you out. Hey, so I'll read us out. Thank you for listening today as we discuss some of the podcasts and blogs that we subscribe to. This has been Carnivore Theology with Chad, Al, and Steve. To find out more, or if you have any topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes of Carnivore Theology, let us know by visiting us on our website, www.carnivoretheology.com. We encourage you to connect with your local biblical church and keep your eyes on the cross.
Bye.
Also,
there you go.
Such a nerd.
I remember